Welcome to the Huddle Sports Network, where we're breaking boundaries and redefining podcasting. Broadcasting live on 6 different platforms, we're bringing you the latest in sports like never before. Imagine tuning in to real-time discussions, expert analyses, and fan interactions all at your fingertips. Each platform offers a unique experience, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. We're not just sharing stories, we're creating a community of passionate sports enthusiasts. Join us as we dive deep into the evolution of podcasting, where every episode is a chance to engage, debate, and celebrate the world of sports. This is where your voice matters and the game never stops. Welcome to the Huddle Sports Network, where we're breaking boundaries and redefining podcasting. Broadcasting live on 6 different platforms, we're bringing you the latest in sports like never before, where sports passion meets podcasting brilliance. I'm Mike, the Bear fan, and alongside Bill, the Packer fan, and our buddy Ken Catalone, we're bringing you an incredible lineup of 38 diverse podcasters. Each one brings their unique flavor to the table, covering everything from game analysis to behind-the-scenes stories. Imagine diving deep into the minds of experts who live and breathe football, sharing insights that you won't find anywhere else.
And welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on the Huddle Sports Network. I'm Taylor Phillips. He's Ed Smith. Welcome back.
Welcome. Glad to be feeling much better after a slight health, I'll just say a slight illness that had kept me derailed for the past week. I'm feeling much better, feel well rested. I'm ready to go for tonight.
All right. So we'll talk Lions, Red Wings, Pistons, and a little bit of Wolverines as well, just reflecting back on what happened last weekend. So back on Thanksgiving Day, I recapped the Bears game. Lions escaped with a 23-20 win. Of course, I talked about everything, including the Eberle mess up on the final play of the game. But the Lions had a 16-0 lead, and then Gibbs fumbled the ball right before halftime. It gave the Bears momentum. They came back. Caleb Williams threw 3 touchdown passes. Sam Laporta scored 2 touchdown passes, including an insurance touchdown to keep the Lions in the lead. And then it came down to the nitty gritty on that final play. The Bears scored a touchdown, that third touchdown aforementioned. The Lions went 3 and out quickly. The Bears got it back, but deep in their own territory, thanks to Jack Fox's putting skills. The Bears still were able to march down the field. Some wild stuff going on, and then the aforementioned Eberle mess up when the Bears had 1 timeout left, and they didn't do it. They just either somehow forgot that they had 1 timeout left, or they just refused to use it. But your input.
Well, first and foremost, let's get with the input that for the first time since 2016, Lions fans were able to enjoy Thanksgiving dinner with a Lions victory. That's first and foremost the important thing to note. Also, a minor sub note within that, this also snaps a 3-game Thanksgiving losing streak to the Bears that the Lions had as well, which is interesting to note because this was, I believe, the second most opponent that the Lions have faced on Thanksgiving, second only, of course, to those damn Packers, and we'll get to them later on. But it really was a tale of tale of 2 halves, really. First half, the Lions were humming, they were rolling, they were moving, they were getting down the field with very little restraint, essentially. And you saw on that play the momentum shift with the Gibbs fumble near the goal line, because if he hangs on to that ball, I'm not saying he scores a touchdown on that play, but it's very likely that the Lions do score a touchdown on that very drive. And I'm pretty sure
Could have set up a first and goal.
Well, in either event, going into halftime, 23-0 would have been a much more different vibe than having to be 16-0. The Bears get a turnover, and then feeling energized, they come out and get that touchdown and to start the second half, and it's 16-7. much could totally. That is a 14-point swing, no matter which way you cut it, and that changed the momentum of the game. You mentioned the Caleb Williams throwing 3 touchdowns. Let's not forget 2 of those were to a guy that I did say could be a guy to look out for because he had a big game against the Lions last year for the Chargers, and that was Keenan Allen. And I was proven right. He had 2 touchdowns. He was the veteran presence to look for when they got deep into the red zone, and they took advantage of that, as well as the fact that, amongst other things, the injury woes just continuing. Not just this game alone, they were already coming into this one without Terry and Arnold, already putting Ennis Rakestraw on IR. Not to mention the fact that they're still without Emmanuel Mosley or Ife Melifonwu. So now you're being forced to play the likes of Kindle Vildor on extended snaps, way more than you could have ever wanted. And I will say this: I thought Kindle Vildor did a much better job in this game than he had done the week before in Indianapolis. I know he was called for that supposed defensive pass interference flag on 4th and 19, but come on, let's look at the replay. That pass was nowhere near catchable. That was a BS flag. And honestly, Vildor, aside from that one moment, played an
Well,
outstanding
technically
game.
it was
Much
fourth
better.
and 14, but yeah, that was
Well,
way
fourth,
that
fourth,
that was just way off.
well, my correction, the 4th and 14 play. But yes, completely uncatchable. The lone little mark, if you want to say, on Vildor's effort, but I'll say stepping in for an injured Terrion Arnold was another example of this next man up mentality that we saw from other players. Because let's not forget, either before this game or even during this game, you were also without Taylor Decker, which proved to be a noteworthy thing, as we'll point out next game. But not to mention, during this game itself, you lose both Makai Wingo for the year and Malcolm Rodriguez. Not to
Yeah,
mention, you also deal with injuries to Josh Paschal and Levi Onwuzurike and DJ Reader. That is your front seven, more specifically, your defensive line being decimated with injury one after another, especially in the case of DJ Reader, because now his absence is going to create some potential problems with you trying to defend the run. And we obviously saw that come to fruition a little bit in a big way against the Packers. What was it? Jacobs got 3 rushing touchdowns. We'll get to that, but still, you saw that happening because of the absence of DJ Reader. But even still, despite that, the Lions were able to overcome that by using their own using their identity, using their game plan. And in divisional opponents games like this, you have to rely, especially in a physical division such as the NFC North, you have to rely on your running game. And thankfully for the Lions, they have that in Sonic and Knuckles. They have Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery. By the way, if you take a look at the numbers and look at the averages, quite necessary to get every yard, every point possible in this game. In this game alone, Gibbs and Montgomery, they combined for, I believe it was 228 yards total from scrimmage. We're talking 87 yards on the ground from Jameer, 17 through the air on receptions. For Monty, 88 yards rushing, 36 yards through passing. So again, the passing game, incorporating using both running backs out of the backfield, explains why this offense is so perfectly well balanced. When you have an offensive line that can protect the quarterback and open up holes for the running game, that leads to situations like this, especially when you have the weapons that they have at practically every skill position on that offense. Because you already mentioned the 2 touchdowns to Laporta. JMO had himself a couple of nice catches as well. I know he had the bad penalty. That was a mistake on his part. He got his ass
unsportsmanlike
chewed out for it.
conduct.
Yep. He got his ass chewed out for it, rightfully so, even though in his defense, as we saw just released earlier today by the NFL themselves, or earlier yesterday, I should say, JMO was tripped on the sideline by Tyreek Stevenson. So in JMO's mind, that ball flipped to the face, that taunting penalty, that was justified. And apparently the NFL agrees with him because he was the one that got fined today. Tyreek Stevenson was. So I could consider that a bit of insult added to injury, so to speak, for the Bears corner, because he's already had the noteworthy bad, lollygagging moment before the Hail Mary against the Washington Commanders, and now this happened. But still, I digress. Sam Laporta getting on the board with 2 touchdowns is very, very massive because it shows the versatility of this offense.
Yeah, And then, what was your reaction to that final play? I know Zadarius Smith got a key sack, forcing 3rd and 26, but the clock kick running when the Bears again had that one timeout left, but
It
Caleb
was very
Williams was trying
chaotic.
to trying to
Mhm.
get everybody into formation, but it's the
Mhm.
head coach's job to call a timeout. Matt Eberflus just didn't do it, and the next day the Bears
Yeah,
fired him, of course.
that whole entire sequence was nothing but insanity, chaos, and frankly hilarity. Because, like you said, Taylor, the
A
Bears
major
had to have
gift.
known exactly. Because guess what, man? I've said this before, and I'll say again: you will never, ever, ever, ever. You should never, ever apologize for a win in this league or for any win whatsoever, especially if your opponent is going to hand wrap it and it gifted to you on a silver platter, the way the Bears did in this one. Because, like you said, the defense, as banged up as they were able to still get pressure on Caleb Williams in that second half, particularly on that last drive from guys like Al-Quadin Muhammad, or even in the recent acquisition with Zadarius Smith getting that big sack on that play before, which turned out to be the second to last play of the game. Because for somehow, some reason, the Bears either didn't want to use that timeout or they forgot they had that timeout
Like I
because
said,
I can't explain what reasoning or logic or defense or excuse they would have to explain why they didn't use that timeout in that situation. Because think of this. You're trying to drive down the field. They were trying to drive down that field to score the touchdown. But guess what? That sack put them on the perimeter. Now you got to think about, okay, let's try to conserve, because now you got to think about, okay, we got to save field goal range here. Get this in a better spot. Get the field goal, go to overtime. And with a timeout left, with 35 seconds left after that sack, you see your rookie quarterback scrambling around, panicking. He's looking like he's got his head cut off. That is on the head coach to help out his quarterback in that situation. Call the doggone timeout, man. What is wrong with you? And, and even if it still leaves you without timeouts, here's the thing though. It's still third down. It's still third down. You could run a play, call a firehouse drill, rush your field goal unit onto the field, and get that ball snapped and kicked off in well enough time without time expiring on you. You know how I've seen how that's possible? Because we've seen it plenty of times in the past with many different teams. Most noteworthy, I think local fans will remember the Michigan Northwestern game from 2013. This was Brady Hoke's second to last year at Ryan Field. Michigan had to rush all the field goal team onto the field in like 12 seconds. And then they literally got the snap off at the gun, got the kick up. It was good. They went in overtime, and then they later won. The Bears should have had that in the back of their mind here. You would think they practice these throughout the week. They practice for any kind of all situations. Hail Mary, last second, laterals, onside. You have to think a firehouse drill or fire drill for your field goal unit would have to be on the menu. But it wasn't. They had the timeout in their back pocket, decided to sit on it. Matt Eberflus failed his quarterback. He failed his team. And in that situation, in that moment, he more than justly, rightfully so, deserved to get fired, because this is not a one-time thing. This was an accumulation, a culmination of multiple errors and mishaps and flat out failures in last game moments and last minute situations that required a steady hand or proper game/clock management from your head coach. And frankly, Matt Eberflus did not do that, and he more than deserved to get fired because of it.
yep. Yeah, the Hail Mary that you mentioned against the Commanders, the overtime loss at home against the Vikings, may I add, of course.
Don't
And that,
forget the
and then,
don't forget the blocked field goal against the Packers.
yes, yeah, I almost forgot about that one. Yeah, that was like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, a half month ago. Wow.
And now again, that was another one where Eberflus, with his play calling, his decision making, being too conservative, not getting enough yards close enough to where he could have made this a much better kick for his kicker. Just the examples are too far noteworthy to explain. But yes, he absolutely deserved to be fired.
Yeah, and now the Bears' offensive coordinator, I believe, is going to be the going to take over as interim head coach for the rest of their regular season for the Bears.
Listen, all I gotta say is good luck because Caleb Williams, I'll say this. He had his little rookie moments, he had his zesty moments, he has his sus moments, yes, but he's still a good football player. He knows how to lead a team, he knows how to make plays. Even though he may try to pull some silly shit like the whole trying to kind of, do the fake slide, not go out of it. You're still a runner. You're still legal. It's in the law. And by the way, Dad Campbell already told the rest before the game, if he tries to pull any of that fake Mahomes shit, we're going to hit his ass. That's exactly what happened. So don't cry about it when they don't throw a flag. Stop it. But still, very impressed because he threw 3 touchdowns in one half, where up to that point, the Lions defense, as banged up as they are, as hurt as they are, they hadn't given up more than one touchdown pass in a game this whole season up until Thanksgiving. So that, to me, should tell you the type of future, type of talent potential that Caleb Williams does have, as being the fact that he was the number 1 overall pick for the Bears, even though he's got to go through a coaching change in this early in his career. But the sky's the limit for that young man, without a doubt.
The Lions have to go to Chicago and play those Bears like later on down the stretch in this regular season.
Yeah, man. And listen, that could be a potential, just like we saw in Lambeau, that could be another potential bad weather game. And frankly, if you're that is a game where the Bears are going to be looking to play spoiler because they just lost again today. They got their asses kicked by the Niners. They're all but essentially out of the playoff race. So now they're going to be looking to play spoiler mode. Exactly what we saw Michigan do against Ohio State. We'll definitely get to them later on.
Yeah. And that reminds me of that Lambeau game where the Lions won. And as we recall, the Lions wide receivers and running backs did handle the ball very well, even in those bad weather conditions in Green Bay, Wisconsin, at Lambeau Field.
Yes.
Can they keep it up? We'll tell.
Only time will tell. It's going to come down to the preparation. And so far, to these coaches, to this coaching staff's credit, to Dan Campbell's credit, no one has been able to out-prepare him or his staff to prepare his team for any circumstances, any field, any conditions. It's literally the hard knock speech being manifested into reality. We don't care what if it's going to be at a landfill or whatever, if it's at your house, whatever. We don't care, and again, we saw it, we just don't care. We're built for this.
Exactly. That's what grit's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's partially what grit's about. But let's get to that Packers game. Speaking of the Packers, man, oh man, the Lions led 17-7 at the half. They set the tone early by scoring that touchdown 4 yards from David Montgomery. Jahmyr Gibbs with a touchdown reception. They led 17-7 at the half, but the Packers got the ball first. Of course, this was not even about momentum at all. The Packers had a high-octane offense. They scored 2 straight, but the Lions bounced back, took the lead, and then the Packers retook the lead, and then the Lions took the lead. Tim Patrick stepping up, finally scoring his first 2 touchdowns as a Lion, and then the Lions defense finally held the Packers to a field goal to tie it at 31, and then that game-winning drive, man, was it crazy, but it still was able, even with that 4th and inches hoopla where Graham Glasgow stepped on Jared Goff's foot, made Goff stumble on one knee, but he was never touched. Still handed the ball off to David Montgomery, of course, and Montgomery got 7 yards out of it. 2 plays later, Bates easily nailed a 35-yard winner, a field goal as time expired, and we kind of expected that to happen on that attempt. But really, your thoughts on it? Insight.
Well, knowing that this is going to be a Thursday night game at home, prime time against a divisional opponent, and not just any divisional opponent, against those damn Packers, I didn't care. I was going to say, throw the records out the window, throw the spread out. None of that matters. This game is going to be close. It's going to be physical. It's going to be hard hitting. It's going to be dramatic. And even though the Lions had that 10-point lead, I was not going to count out Green Bay for just a second because they had the ability to be quick strikers on offense. Jordan Love, again, another young quarterback that has tremendous potential that we got to be dealing with in this division for a long time. Again, the Packers just seem to keep finding nothing but striking gold on getting quarterback after quarterback of the future after quarterback of the future. So now we got to deal with this Jordan Love kid, and frankly, how he was able to come out in that second half, which admittedly aided by the fact that we saw again more players going down for this team on this defense. Uh, they've had countless players on IR alone. I think Rex Ryan mentioned on the Sunday countdown crew on ESPN, they had 18 players total out on defense. That includes essentially all but one of their in terms of the 53-man roster that was seen on opening day. All but one of their front seven was available for this game. And that says something because you're seeing guys like I mentioned before, like Al-Quadin Muhammad, Zeke Turner, Pat O'Connor, David Long, Quan Alexander, even bringing in guys like Jamal Adams, those guys off the couch, off the practice squad. You signed them on Monday because you know you had to play them on Thursday, that type of deal. Broderick Martin trying to making an impact. Darius Smith with his impact, my goodness, just in 4
Another
games
sack.
alone since he's played. Yes, but in his 4 games here, just he started playing for Detroit, 3 sacks total with 20 QB pressures, multiple QB hits. He's picking up that slack that was needed from the edge rusher spot once Aiden went down, even before Aiden Hutchinson went down, but most especially after. But even still, the bad luck with the hits just seemed to keep going because another guy went down with Lee McNeil, who has been our one of our other best performing defensive linemen in this season with a head injury. And then later on, we lost Brian Branch due to cramps. So again, the fact that this defense, I'm not even upset that they gave up 31 points because let's not forget, coming out of that second half, yes, Green Bay got the opening drive touchdown, but also that Goff interception that didn't help. Not getting the 4th and 1 backed up at your own 30, that also didn't help as well. That put Green Bay in position with short field and on a dome instead of a shitty, sloppy monsoon rainy field at Lambeau. Yeah, they're going to be able to move the ball and score some points, evidenced by the fact that Josh Jacobs got 3 touchdowns on the ground. And again, that does not happen if DJ Reader is playing. That's just my belief, and I think the game tape backs it up, and also seeing the difference with him out versus him being in was a big difference as well. But even still, you still had to see guys step up. Again, another example, Taylor Decker. He is out for the 2nd consecutive game due to his injuries dealing with his knee and his foot. So what? Big Dan Skipper, he had to step up. He started in Decker's place and played a career high 43, 44 snaps, whatever it was. He played so much, he got to the point where in the post-game press conference, in the post-game locker room speech, he's still puking his guts up in the side of the corner.
It was worth it.
Now, yeah, it was worth it though because it was necessary and needed. We needed him in a big way because Green Bay, I'll give them credit, they were determined to not let us run roughshod over them with Gibbs and Montgomery. And I think for the most part, they held those guys in check. We didn't really see much of those big chunk plays or those big gashing runs that we're usually seeing from Sonic and Knuckles. But we did see when it mattered most, the necessary yards, the gritty yards. And again, Dan Campbell proving why he's Dan Gamble. Yeah, he didn't get that 1 4th down call, but I think, frankly,
that was only in their own territory. But the other 4 4th down attempts were in Packer territory, and they were all successful. Now you can see the difference.
Even still, though, even on the one that they missed, I could easily point out to you on the replay that if it weren't for missed blocks by both Brock Wright and Amon-Ra St. Brown, Gibbs easily makes that 1st down without question. Without question. But even still,
that's
like
another
you said,
factor.
Taylor, the other 4, though, they were able to convert, including 2 deep in the red zone near the goal line. They could have taken the points, settled for field goals, but they trusted their offense. And also Dan Campbell knows, listen, the way our defense is already hurt, we need to score touchdowns as much as we can. So what? We're going to have to get going for it on 4th down. So why people are trying to second guess or criticize or play the armchair or play what if games with this, I don't understand it because you had to know what this team was dealing with coming into this game to know why Dan Campbell was doing this. This was, yes, this may have given you shades or flashbacks to the NFC Championship game, but guess what? That's his identity. That's this team's identity. The identity. They're not going to waver from that because what it's gotten to this point. It's why they're one reason why they've gotten this good this fast. Speaks to who they are, their essence, up and down. And when you see, and if you're telling me that I got the best offensive line in football, I got the best right tackle in Penei Sewell, I got a guy in David Montgomery who I know is going to be willing to fight and die to get me one itch, I can't get a damn yard. Oh yeah, I deserve to lose that game, especially like I said. Another example, people say, oh, why didn't you just take the field goal? Why didn't it there? You do realize it's still 40 seconds left on that clock. Do people not remember the Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary that happened in that building practically 9 years to the day? No, excuse me. Yeah, 9 years to the day. And I remember, Taylor, because you and I, we had to do an emergency podcast episode that night. Because, right, that was the Rodgers Hail Mary that was aided by a controversial flag that the Packers won, knocked the Lions out of playoff contention, and basically broke Calvin Johnson's soul to the point where he retired at the end of that season. So yeah, that one play from Aaron Rodgers did a lot of long-term damage from the Lions, and I'll be willing, and I'm not afraid to admit to you, I had some PTSD triggers floating in the back of my mind of that. And you know what? With that in mind, knowing what Jordan Love can do, even with 30 seconds or whatever, and knowing how banged up your defense is, I did not blame Dan Campbell whatsoever and say, hey, we got the best line, we got the best tackle, we got one of the best running backs. Let's get one damn yard to milk this clock out, kick this field goal, and go home. Because if we can't get one damn yard, it's like what he said earlier about, people wanted to talk about. It's what people want to talk about with Jahmyr Gibbs posting the code words or code snap words on a TikTok post. Dan Campbell so eloquently put it like this: if we're going to lose a game because of a bunch of code words, then maybe we're not that damn good to begin with. And it's the same thing here with this game. If we are not going to be able to get 1 yard with the players that we have, we don't deserve to win this game. Because he said it in the post game locker room speech. We don't have to talk about how tough we need to be. We are. We just do it. We just show it. Which, by the way, again, I know it sounds petty. It sounds out of nowhere. But frankly, hearing him say that and seeing that being personified, especially after what we saw in Columbus, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Wonderful.
Yeah. Detroit fan man says, so it's claimed now on the last fourth down, MCDC, Motor City Dan Campbell, that is, was going to kick until Goff said he wanted to go for it. MCDC looked at him and said, F it, let's go. From the Sherman podcast, revisiting the Whitworth Goff. Yeah, Richard Sherman. That's what I was going to mention. But the Whitworth Goff interview. Oh my goodness.
I can believe that. I can believe that because
inside information there. Thank you.
Because
Man.
Thank you, exactly. But guess what?
Subscribe to our channel, by the way, Dit Fan Man, and spread the word.
And that shows, by the way, the trust not only that Dan Campbell has in his players to go with that, but the trust vice versa, or rather the vice versa effect of the players buying in to what he says. That yes, we trust you, coach. We got you. You've ridden us this far. We're going to get you this 1 yard. We're going to do whatever it takes to get this 1 yard and close out this game. Because like you said, we don't want to go to overtime. Not with this defense. No. They're already.
We definitely don't want to lose on a Hail Mary touchdown.
Exactly. And this team has played its fourth game in 18 days. Its third in 12 days. They needed to end this right then and now so they can get this 10 days off before anybody else got hurt. So, again, the game was on the line.
Anybody on defense especially got hurt.
Yes. And they're already hurt already. And they also lost, like I said, they lost Branch and McNeil during the damn game. So, again, whatever happened, you lived with the result. But I had no problem whatsoever with Dan Campbell making that fourth down decision. Because you saw what it led to.
Me neither.
You won the game.
I had no problem.
Yeah. But besides, that offense was rolling.
They had no choice.
Yeah, come on, listen. You had Tim Patrick getting his first touchdown since in 3 years.
First two touchdowns.
You got JMO, by the way, having a nice game of himself, 5 catches for 80 yards. And then you got Goff in terms of like showing again the perfect example of how this offense is self-balanced. Goff spreading the wealth by completing at least 5 passes to 6 different receivers.
There you go.
Think
So
about that. Between St. Brown, between Laporta, between both your running backs. Yeah, it is bountiful. And I've already mentioned Tim Patrick. And let's not forget the occasional couple passes to Brock Wright.
yeah, he needed to step up. Sam Laporta as well. Got to get
Yeah,
everybody
big time.
involved.
Yeah,
So
because they recognize what the goal is here, and with these other teams still nipping at their heels with the Vikings and the Eagles, for example, not refusing to just not stay packed, lose a damn game for once. The Lions are now in that pressure or that under pressure mode of, hey, we got to perform, be at our best, or try to find a way to win these games week in and week out, even as hurt as we are.
exactly. Yeah, it's not just grit and brain power, but the sense of urgency that Dan Campbell has. Unlike those other head coaches from the past, like Jim Caldwell during that aforementioned Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary, of course, Matt Patricia, Jim Schwartz, of course. They don't have the brain power or the grit or the urgency like Dan Campbell has and his coaching staff. Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, and Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator. These are all
Gotta
the
give some
elements that
shout
you
out.
need as if you're the Lions.
Yeah, by the way, not to mention shout outs to Kelvin Shepard, the linebackers coach, who, by the way, man, he speaking of a guy who needs his flowers in addition to Aaron Glenn, Kelvin Shepard deserves a whole truckload because his linebacking unit has been depleted. Okay, the fact that you got to bring in Jamal Adams, who's listed as a safety, but you got to bring him in for linebacker snaps because you got too many guys in your room that's hurt. I think Jack Campbell's the only guy out there that's left. So
Yeah,
yeah, again, between that, Antoine Randall, the wideouts coach, getting the most that he can. Which, by the way, I loved how he chastised JMO for that dumb play on the sideline on Thanksgiving. But that was the thing that JMO needed because he took accountability for himself. He apologized to his teammates. That he owned the moment, which was very important for him to do so, and then he responded. Even in this game against the Packers, when he might have dropped the pass from Goff came right back to him, and he got that first down anyway. Again, showing that development, showing that level of trust and chemistry that has formed between those two over the past couple of years. You love to see it. You love to see that kind of growth.
yeah, and this is those Lions players that stepped up as emergency like first responder um, positions. Of course, they are like army soldiers that are
Yeah,
willing to
even
put everything on the line.
even if they know for a fact that they're not going to be here long term, or they're just here just to help fill out a few weeks because before a key guy gets back from a spot, like an Anzalone or a Raymond. I know they're on IR right now, but those guys you will expect to be back in time for the
And they
playoffs.
will
And
be
speaking
because
of which,
guess what? With that win over the
guess what?
Packers, the Lions have
Mhm.
clinched a playoff berth for the second
The
year in a
fact
row.
the fact that we're getting to a point where they're clinching, not only clinching the playoffs in consecutive years, but they're doing this well before the season has ended is quite amazing. Let's not forget the fact that they were how they started in the Dan Campbell era and how they started that second season, so to speak. And the turnaround that they have made since that 1-6 start in year two after the 0-11, the 0-13 and the 3-13 in one game season. Tremendous stride, tremendous improvement. And like I said, now we're in this position where they have clinched a playoff spot in consecutive season for the first time since the mid '90s. We're talking about Barry Sanders days, okay? And the fact that this is the first time ever in franchise history that they've had consecutive 12-win seasons and also matching a franchise record with 12 wins in the season with 4 games left. Yeah, I can't speak enough high praise from what the organization has done from top to bottom by making a complete turnaround. Got to give credit to Sheila Ford Hamp, as well as making the underneath hires, not just Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, but also guys like Chris Spielman. Chris Spielman, I believe, is such an underrated key cog to this piece as well, being with his advisor role. I could go on for days and days, but yeah, quite remarkable job by this organization and this franchise ever since Martha gave Sheila the keys.
Keep him up. Keep it up, people. Keep it up. So that's Lions. We'll preview the Bills on our next episode, which is this Thursday, by the way. Man, the Red Wings are just the dead things again. They keep taking backward steps. They keep losing games. Yes, they got two injured goalies, Alex Lyon and Cam Talbot. Billy Husso has stepped up in net, but I feel like this team doesn't care about scoring. Lucas Raymond seems to be the only Red Wing player that keeps on scoring goals, but that's it, as far as I know.
Raymond's got 8 goals now in his last 9 games, but that's the problem. He's the only one that gives a shit out there.
Yeah.
That can't happen. And frankly, if you're Derek Lalonde, you have to think, is this or at this point, are my players even giving enough effort to where they want to try to make the playoffs? Or if not, or are they or in some instances trying to purposely hold back because they probably don't want me to be their coach anymore? Some of that has got to creep in the back of your head, especially if you're in year 6 of the Yzerman tenure and you're still without a playoff berth. I'm just saying, because there's no excuse for following a 2-game win streak with a 5-game losing streak, where all those are by 1 goal, and not to mention the various penalty kill issues that you had on top of your goaltending issues with the injuries and everything
else. The penalty kill has been horse manure.
Yes, so good teams don't make the playoffs with bad defense, and especially on the power play.
Especially on the penalty kill.
So they got to So they got to find a way to make a turnaround of their own, or else we may be looking at a position or a situation where Steve Yzerman might have to do something he doesn't want to do, and that's fire a coach midway through a season.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes there comes a point where Yzerman, Stevie Y, has no choice.
You got to be a boss. Yeah, this is where being a boss is all about. Sometimes you got to make the tough decision that maybe you don't want to, that no one else would want to make. But guess what? You have to make that choice, Steve.
Yeah.
This is not a Chris Illich isn't giving me enough money, or Chris isn't letting me give the finals. No, Steve, you have the final say so in this situation. And if this team is not getting things right, you've got to move on from Derek Lalonde. You just have to.
Yeah, and
because now this gets to a point to where, okay, Steve, now what can you show us? Can you find that right coach for us? Because it's inexcusable with the talent that we've been able to slowly put around guys like Dylan Larkin and Lucas Raymond and Alex DeBrincat. Even though Patrick Kane is having his struggles, he can still be that guy that can turn it back for you when necessary. It's no excuse as to why the Red Wings should be performing this early on in this season, especially when they had the momentum of almost making the playoffs at the end of last year.
Yeah, and I read a couple rumors a little while ago on social media about I know Sergei Fedorov's not going to come back into the Yelich prime, but his name was thrown out there. Also, Joe Quenneville on Facebook from the Red Wings feed page, I think.
God, please.
Yeah,
what's
but
next? You're going
Quenneville's
to tell me Mike Keenan's involved? Right. What's next? Is Mike Keenan available? Please.
Right. But Quenneville's getting old. So is John Tortorella. I think Torts is already retired.
Oh, please do not bring that volcanic cancer here, please.
So cross him off the list anyway. I'm just making sure we cross everybody off the list.
Just no. I refuse to accept Tortorella as a head coach for the Red Wings. No. After I've already dealt with that with the shades of that with Babcock. I don't need that kind of crap anymore. Okay.
Yeah, Babcock's definitely not coming back. Cross him off the list. So it's just I don't see any options out there, to be honest, unless I do further advanced research with someone on the hockey side, on the hockey genius side of things, or whatever, something like that. But the Pistons, they upset the Knicks, the New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden, 120-111. Cade Cunningham, another triple double, 29 points, 10 rebounds, 15 assists, and also got Malik Beasley, 23 points on 7 of 10 shooting from 3-point range. Beasley again Beasley again showing the Pistons organization and his fan base that he can knock down 3 bombs. The Pistons improved to 10-15, 11th place in the Eastern Conference. They're still trying to keep up, even though they came up short in the Emirates NBA Cup. They got crushed by the Bucks. They got crushed by they almost kept up, but got squashed by the Celtics anyway. But really, they beat the Knicks. The Knicks have been an improved team. They're really good. But the Pistons to get out there in Madison Square Garden and pull that upset, wow, that's impressive.
Well, it was a much needed win first and foremost because being eliminated from the NBA Cup during that 5-game stretch, they also had a blowout loss against the Sixers as well. Now, some of that might have to be due to the fact that some of these games were being played on back-to-back nights.
And a snowstorm in between.
Exactly. But still, you suit up, you're getting paid, you got to go out and play. And, they just had an early hole that was too much to overcome against the Celtics because they were shooting very well. But just that first quarter, the way they started, just too much to try and overcome at the end. But still, much needed victory here. I think it's quite nice for Cade to say, hey, I had myself a signature moment or signature performance in Madison Square Garden. Because when you drop 15 assists in a triple-double, with 29 points, going 5 of 8, shooting from 3, yeah, that's a pretty damn special performance. And Malik Beasley showing his capability, I think he's much, again, off the bench, a tremendous godsend with his addition to the team this past off season. Because he can be that right spark off the bench and that guy that can be one of the guys that you can have on the floor with a Cade or Ivy when you have to switch one of the other two out during at certain points of the game. Or if you have to have both out, you still have a guy that can produce for you offensively in Malik. You just got to have a guy like a Sass or whoever that can find him on the open look. But no complaints with how Malik Beasley has been for the Pistons. Again, I'll say it again, he's been a godsend for us. But now, worth noting though, even though with this win they snapped a long, very long 16-game skid against the Knicks, worth noting that in this game, New York did not have Karl Anthony Towns. So I'm just saying, yeah, it's good to get the win, but you gotta also recognize the finer details, and comb through the details and see and understand when you look at certain things. Go, oh, that's why they won. I mean, again, like I said earlier in regards to the Lions, never ever apologize for a win. But yeah, the Pistons, this was a game they kind of had to win because
they
with the
earned
streak
it.
I mentioned before, but also with no Karl Anthony Towns, this is a game you had to win. Period.
They took advantage and earned the win. So the Pistons go to Boston and play the Celtics again Thursday at 7:30 on FanDuel Sports Network Detroit. Oh boy. Well, see if the Pistons can use that as a motive, that win against the Knicks Saturday night last Saturday as a motive against those Boston Celtics, because the Knicks and Celtics are still very good teams in the Eastern Conference.
Well, I'll say this: they're already at 10 wins, and it's not even at the end of December yet.
Right.
So if they can find a way to get that to 20 before the All-Star break, wonderful, outstanding. Because it shows me that you're proving yourself to be on the right path, treading in the right direction. in a big way. You can get to 20 wins or more before the All-Star break. Yeah, that kudos, absolute kudos would be deserved.
Yeah. And then I want your insight on the game. Michigan, the Wolverines football team, heading to Columbus and upsetting the Ohio State Buckeyes 13-10. They beat the Buckeyes in Columbus for the second time in a row. That's 4 straight wins over the Buckeyes overall as well. But my goodness, their defense, that they stood tall. Interceptions galore by both thrown by both quarterbacks of both teams. But my goodness, it was more of a defensive slugfest, some would say, at least.
This was in some ways a very symbolic game on a symbolic moment for this point, an inflection moment point for this rivalry when you think about it. Because let's look at the context and look at the preamble and look at the storylines and narratives that were leading up to this game that played itself out during the game and obviously what we saw after the game. Coming into this game, the Wolverines offense was just complete. This Wolverines team in general was having a very mediocre, if not outright bad season based on their record, based on how their offense was looking, and you saw elements of that definitely show up in important spots throughout this game against Ohio State. The 2 interceptions by Davis Warren, including one of the most horrific interceptions I've ever seen in my life that he threw right at the goal line when he had a tight end wide open, underthrew it, and Jack Sawyer picked it off. It probably almost broke the sound barrier at Ohio State. It certainly almost broke Gus Johnson. It almost broke a lot of Michigan fans. It almost broke me, and it made me want to almost break my TV because I couldn't believe what I was seeing with that one play. But let's give credit
I
to the
wasn't
Michigan defense.
surprised at all, though, because Michigan still didn't have a quarterback throughout the entire season. Go figure.
True, but still in that moment, like honestly, my 12-year-old niece could throw a better pass in that spot than Davis Warren did. Now again, I'm trying not to harp too much on the young man because I know his story, I know what he's been through, and I appreciate the fact that he persevered. He still made some plays, and guess what? He's going to go down as a Michigan quarterback that got a win against Ohio State, and he did it in Columbus. Timely moments that was very much needed by this offense because they didn't have Colston Loveland coming into this game, and they lost Donovan Edwards midway through this game. So they had to rely heavily on Kalel Mullings throughout this entire game. And frankly, between a couple of noteworthy plays, timely moments, we saw the catch by O'Leary near the sideline. We saw the Kendrick Bell reverse pass play that was called for a pass interference play that led to the unfortunate interception. But still, that was the creativity that we were looking to see. We were looking to see when was Kirk Campbell going to empty the kitchen sink, as Joel Clapp was, alluding to or foreshadowing being used in this fourth quarter, and it happened. It did right then and there. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get the execution, but still, we adjusted from there and we recognized, listen, at this point, we have got to use our strength and try to outwill them. We have to outwill Ohio State because they know we're running it. We know we're running it. Everyone in this whole damn stadium knows we're running it. We cannot throw this ball anymore. And I'll be damned. They got the job done. Kalel Mullings, much like we saw in the USC game, became Superman on that final drive. He put on the cape. He got infused. His body became possessed with the spirits of Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum and Chris Perry and even 2022 Donovan Edwards for a brief second on that 3rd-down-and-6 run near midfield where he popped onto the side, broke a few tackles, got down the field, and essentially helped won the game with that call, with that run because obviously things would have been much different if Michigan wasn't able to get that 3rd down. But they were able to do that, milk the clock, bleed time, and get the points that they needed. Dominic Zavada, I did say right at the start of this season, Michigan was going to be relying on his leg. They were going to have to rely on his leg a lot, and they did a lot, and they did big time in this game. It proved very well. He should have been a Groza finalist. This game solidified it for me. The circumstances, the kicks that he made, phenomenal. But this defense, man, I knew this defense was missing some players from last year. They were missing some players coming into today, and they were missing some coaches from last year even. But the fact that they got two interceptions on Will Howard, stonewalled Ohio State, especially after bad interceptions that put them Ohio State in the momentum share. They still stonewalled them to the point to the fact that we saw not one but two missed field goals by Ohio State in normally chip shot range.
Wow.
And granted, some of that was probably thanks to the wind and the cold and whatnot, but still, that's still a testament to your defense not giving up those touchdowns. They only gave up one touchdown near the end of the first half, and you could argue that came off an offensive pass interference that wasn't called. But even still, they shut down the run game. They didn't. They neutralized Travion Henderson. They neutralized Judkins, and late in the fourth quarter, when they needed to truly prove their worth, that front four, Derek Moore, Josiah Stewart, Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, three, if not all four of those dudes showing that they're going to be in the NFL draft picks next year, if not damn near in the first round, the way they showcased in that fourth quarter. It was beautiful. It was quintessential, hard nosed Big Ten Michigan football. And Ohio State, for some reason whatsoever, got stuck in their mind, got it implanted in their mind that we got to out tough this team no matter what, to where they ignored their strength of using their 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 speed, using their athletes, using their wide receivers. They're a finesse team. Use that finesse to the best of your ability. Use that flash to the best of your ability, but they didn't. They didn't go to the air. They didn't attack that secondary that didn't have Will Johnson. Instead, they decided to run right into the strength of the Michigan defense because they wanted to prove to be, oh, we can out tough you. No, you can't. No, you didn't. And once again, the tale proves as old as time. Once again, in the
They
Michigan
got too
Ohio State
cocky
game,
and
but once
started
again,
acting like a bunch of divas.
yes, they did, and we saw that in the post game. But like I said, once again, in the Michigan Ohio State game, the team that ran the ball the most, that ran the ball better, more consistently, for the 23rd time in a row, won the game. Cannot ignore that. So for Ohio State to not what they did with their game plan, they should have attacked early through the pass to set up the run, get ahead early with the pass, and then salt away the game with the run. They didn't do that. They got, like you said, got too full of themselves, wanted to prove a point, wanted to send a message. Well, here's a message for you, boys. You're going 0-4 against Michigan, 0-2
Yeah.
in your own home stadium with your flag planted on
Flag
your
planted.
turf in
Well
your
deserved.
house. I don't care, and I don't care that people want to get mad, upset about it. You had 60 minutes and four quarters to beat those to prevent them from happening. Beat
Gus
them,
Johnson was mad
win the
about it.
game. Oh please, Gus Johnson. I love Gus. I have nothing but respect for Gus. He's a Michigan fan, Detroit guy, through and through. But he was awful in that game. Completely horrible in that game. Missing calls, sounded like a blatant homer for Ohio State, crying and whining about the flag gate. Listen, Baker Mayfield did that years ago. No one batted an eye. Michigan had that happen to them twice this year alone. One of those games, one of those games Gus Johnson was there for. He called Michigan versus Texas. Texas whooped Michigan's ass. They planted the flag on our field. I didn't see no fights happen then, did it? No. We took the loss. We understand the situation, and we took it on the chin and moved on and accepted it like men. But no, Ohio State want to be some soft ass little boys, want to be some sore losers, and didn't want to accept the fact that you got punked for the fourth straight year in a row. Where was that fight during the game? Don't fight
Nowhere.
after the game. Don't do that. Don't do that Michigan State little brother shit. Fight during the game. Show that fight during the game. And if you had, maybe you would have been the one winning the damn game. Maybe you would have been the one going to the Big Ten championship game on this past Saturday.
Yeah, it's no wonder they keep sticking with the run. They're heading into the college football playoff, which they now dropped a 5 in. They're gonna lose in the first round.
And if they do, I hope they don't fire Ryan Day. Keep his ass there as long as possible.
They're not firing him. They said to the media that they're sticking with Ryan Day for at least one more year.
Beautiful. Good. Keep him there 10 more years. Let him become our new John Cooper.
Any Michigan fan would hope. Myself included.
Listen, with how they capped off those last 2 weeks of the season, and we'll get to it more on the next episode with the Recruiting Red. I think we touched on it a little bit last week before, but the Bryce Underwood signing, huge ripple effect, massive domino effect, and then you follow that up with another win against Ohio State. We'll get into Bryce and the other recruits and the other signing day and transfer and all that shit on the next episode. But yeah, major kudos of snatching up Bryce, flipping him from LSU, and then getting this big win against Ohio State.
Yeah, that happened before the game. Wow.
Yeah, but Sharon Moore, listen, Sharon, for the ups and downs that Sharon Moore had, he was brilliant in this game. He knew what this team, what they had to do, what they needed to do, and was executed to perfection.
That's why the Wolverines are keeping him.
Exactly. I mean, and granted, he still had to make some tough choices. He still had to fire his offensive coordinator after the game, but it was the right move. It was the necessary move. But at least you got to go out on a high note. So thank you, Kirk. Thank you, Kirk Campbell, for the Big Ten championships. Thank you for the national championship. But based on your performance this season, it's what have you done for me lately? And no, this could not go on, continue like this. So they had to do what they had to do. But thank you for your service, and thank you for one last win against those damn Buckeyes.
Yeah, of course. But after the game, it was time for Kirk Campbell to go because, sure, Michigan's quarterback situation was abysmal, but Kirk Campbell's play calling or lack thereof just didn't help either. No,
not using your running back, not using your strength as necessary when possible. Putting again the quintessential thing, pass or saying of not putting your best players in the best spots to perform at their best. It was true here with what we saw with the offensive game and the passing game.
Yeah, and tight ends coach Steve Casula will be the interim offensive coordinator, heading into the ReliaQuest Bowl on January 31st. That's December 31st. Wait a minute, let me retype that for a second. December. Thank you very much. December 31st in Tampa, Florida, against the Alabama Crimson Tide, the rematch from the college football playoff semifinal Rose Bowl. We remember that, of course. That was, by the way, that was Michigan's first ever college football playoff victory.
Yeah,
game victory.
I just wonder how many players are going to be opting out of this game on both sides of the thing by the time we get the kickoff.
We'll see. And then of course we have a Bears fan from the Huddle Sports Network commenting just really Detroit.
It's typical trolling saltiness. Be more mad about the fact that
living in the past.
Living in the past, Mr. 1985. How many quarterbacks have you had since then? How many coaches have you had since then? And oh, by the way, what is your ownership looking like? Oh yeah, the Horseshoe known as the McCaskies. Please give me a break. Okay, you're still. Let's not forget that the Packers still own your asses. Please.
Yep. Yeah. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. By the way, Chris Foster.
Yeah, appreciate the view.
Yes,
Obviously, but
yes, still subscribe.
Listen, we're not going to beg him to subscribe, but still, the fact that he gave a
Yeah, but this
review
is not
is
trash talk, Chris. Chris, this is the truth.
right.
So,
Begging for help. No, it's acknowledging. It's called right, like Reigns says, acknowledge me, acknowledge the fact that the Packers are your daddy, and acknowledge the fact that guess what? Even when hurt, we still
used to
beat
be.
you, and your coach and your coach was an idiot and deserved to get fired.
Yep,
No, so
exactly.
take your L, take your ass whooping that you got from the Niners today, and we'll see you in a couple weeks in Chicago. And on that note, good night to you. Next topic, please.
Yep, very, very much truth. Always that was truth. Yeah, but yeah. Let's just move on from there. Thank you, Chris. So, what did we learn?
We learned that the Pistons are still a growing team that shows signs of improvement, that shows signs of life, signs of worth investing into. We showed that Kate Cunningham is a player that the NBA needs to start paying more attention to and start promoting more because this young man has potential to be one of the best to help carry the torch for you once LeBron and the guys like LeBron and Steph finally retire. We learned that the Red Wings are still spiraling in a way that honestly it may come to a point where Steve Eisman may have no choice but to fire a head coach midway through the season. It's a tough choice, but it's a necessary one, and it may have to happen. And we learned also that no matter what type of season that Michigan may be having, they still own Ohio State. They have broken, absolutely, truly, utterly, mentally, psychologically, spiritually broken Ohio State. They've broken Ryan Day. They've broken that fan base. They've broken those players. Jack Sawyer wanted to look like he sound like he was going to have a nervous and mental breakdown right on that field because what over a damn flag. By the way, shout out Jason Avant, Michigan legend. Already was a legend before. He's a Michigan legend now for saving the flag on that field from those hooligans. And they own him. And now we got Bryce Underwood coming next year. Good luck trying to beat us now. And as for the Lions, like I said before, despite injuries, despite circumstances, they keep finding ways to win games, especially against opponents that either like to play scared, play stupid, or just, again, not be able to outplan Dan Campbell. And I talked about Matt Eberflus. We didn't talk about enough about Matt Before of how with some of his decision making, or rather of how he let a fan interaction rattle him up to the point where we're seeing him whine and cry to officials uh, throughout the game. He just looked completely out of his depth in terms of trying to be that emotional leader, the way Dan Campbell is and has been for the Lions. It's like he was trying to play a role that he's not accustomed to playing, but because that's not who he is. But either way, the Lions swept those damn Packers. They got one step closer to winning the division. They clinched a playoff spot for the second consecutive year in a row, and they're one step closer to getting the one seed. Once you get that one seed, that's a first round bye. That means 2 games to the Super Bowl. Both of them are going to be at your crib. And guess what? You're going to be getting some of those guys back from injury soon, like Anzalone, like Khalif Raymond. Dare I even say Aiden Hutchinson? We shall see.
Speaking of Aiden Hutchinson, we did receive an update from Jay Glazer earlier today on Fox that Aiden Hutchinson has, of course, he's been rehabbing, but Glazer has told us and the viewing audience, especially NFL fans everywhere, that Aiden Hutchinson may return for the NFC Championship game.
Not even the Super Bowl. Think about that. If Aiden, knowing the fact that he has all this time on his hands, he has his obviously age and youth and other things on his side, and the fact that the severity of his injury, as described to him, was and as his family had described it, rather like a touch from God type of situation. If there is a slither of a chance that, forget about playing in the Super Bowl, if he's able to play in Ford Field in front of that crowd for the NFC Championship game, that is literally a moment that's going to be talked about for so many years to come, especially if the Lions do finally get over that hurdle, get that win, and get to the Super Bowl. It will be Willis Reed on steroids. That's exactly what that will be.
Oh yeah. Imagine when the Lions get DJ Reader back, Ali McNeil. They may be back soon. The Lions have a total of 10 days rest before playing
Yes.
the Buffalo Bills on Sunday, 425.
It was much needed, much deserved. And let me tell you something. It's a slight little bit early preview of our preview. But based on what I saw today against the Rams, there's a good chance that the Lions can win this game um, quite handedly, I would say. And it starts and ends with running the football. But we'll get into that more on the next episode.
Yeah, but as I was saying, imagine Hutchinson, Zadarius Smith, Ali McNeil, DJ Reader, all pass rushers. Imagine them all working together.
Not just pass rushers, but those are guys that you are not going to run the ball on, period. Especially
Exactly. They can stop the run too.
Especially with DJ and Mac in the middle.
Yeah. So that is what we've learned on another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. I'm Taylor Phillips. He's Ed Smith. Follow the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Michigan_Truth, and like its Facebook page. Subscribe to its YouTube channel at the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Like its videos on and turn on all notifications on the bell icon. Watch its live episodes in full to learn everything. Once you go to our channel, click or tap on live videos to get our latest episodes. You can even watch our shorts videos too. Follow it and listen to it in audio form on Spreaker. Also join its supporters club. Follow me on X, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube at DT2Phillips. And follow Ed Smith on X, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, Blue Sky, and YouTube at EdSmith313. Business shoutouts go to Allen's Auto Sales in St. Louis, Athletico Physical Therapy on Woodward in Ferndale, the B4 Foundation, Best Buy with Geek Squad in Traverse City, Cadillac Grill, or one of my old Cadillac Lincoln Elementary School friends, Shanna Tanner works, Cadillac Nutrition, Cali Tickets, call 877-225-8425 or visit CaliTickets.com. Creative Embroidery of Cadillac, Cuts by Melanie in Lake City, Baldwin Family Healthcare Dental Center in Cadillac. I got my dental insurance approved with McLaren, with the McLaren Health Plan. Finally, at least for 1 year. Thank you very much. Hooters of Saginaw. It's a Denise Jewelry in Lake City. Let's roll with it. Rolled Ice Cream in Cadillac. Like them on Facebook. Follow them on TikTok at the Food Mafia LLC and on Instagram at the Food Mafia Rolled Ice Cream. The Michigan Coffee Company in Cadillac, not only serving great coffee, but also awesome breakfast rolls. Not just cinnamon, but cranberry. Also all kinds of other flavors. Northern Auto Lab in Lake City. Northern Star Event Rentals in Cadillac, 231-884-8195, and on Facebook. Positive Chimney and Fireplace in Cadillac. I go back there later today. Pro Quality Cleaners of Cadillac. The Raven Social Restaurant on South Mitchell Street in downtown Cadillac. Union Barber in Birmingham and Ferndale. United Food Service Solutions of Grand Ledge. United Mobile Power Wash and Dry Ice Works in Southfield, and Well-Being with Catherine Palms. The Michigan Sports Truth Podcast is a presentation of the Huddle Sports Network. On our next episode, which is Thursday night, as we mentioned, we'll preview the Bills-Lions game, which is Sunday at 4:25 on CBS. We'll analyze more about Bryce Underwood and Chase Herbstreit and more. Until then, for Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips. It's not sponsors, but business shout-outs. We may at least hope to get them in the future. But for Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips. signing off. But remember, we always observe and detect the truth about Michigan sports because the truth is out there. Stay on the lookout. Ta-ta for now. Hit them with a hind.
Stay safe, everybody.